My dad did approach me about wanting to be the father of my baby in a storyline for TV, which that one was just a little too gross, actually. It's completely disgusting, and I don't find the entertainment value in it at all.
In 2022, Vince McMahon found himself in the center of a storm of allegations that shook the foundation of WWE. Reports surfaced claiming McMahon had paid millions in hush money to silence sexual harassment and misconduct accusations from former WWE employees. Amid the growing scrutiny, Vince temporarily stepped down as CEO, but his grip on WWE remained, even as the scandal continued to unfold. The gamble that built an empire. Let's rewind to 1982. Vince McMahon, the ambitious son of Vince J. McMahon, buys the then World Wrestling Federation, or WWF, from his father. But this wasn't a simple handoff. Vince had to pay for the company in installments, and the deal had a catch. If he missed even one payment, he would lose everything he had invested. Talk about high stakes. Vince wasn't just risking his money. He was betting his family's future. And in true McMahon fashion, he didn't just succeed. He changed the game. Vince McMahon's bold decision to expand WWE nationally almost didn't happen due to his father's opposition. Vince's father, Vince Sr., who had built the regional WWE empire, was initially against taking the company national. Vince Jr. went behind his father's back and started signing national TV deals, including with MTV, which ultimately led to the WWF's global expansion. This gamble was so risky that many believed it would ruin the family business. WrestleMania, the ultimate risk. The gamble of all gambles came in 1985 with WrestleMania. Vince poured everything into the event, promoting it as the Super Bowl of wrestling. He even went so far as to mortgage his house to fund it. If WrestleMania flopped, the WWF would have collapsed, and the McMahon family's dream would have turned into a nightmare. But it didn't flop. WrestleMania was a colossal success, cementing the WWF's place in pop culture and making Vince McMahon a household name. The initial WrestleMania event was a massive financial risk, and McMahon even went as far as convincing celebrity guests like Muhammad Ali and Cyndi Lauper to participate, betting everything on the event's success. Had it failed, it would have ruined him financially. WrestleMania also introduced the world to larger-than-life characters like Hulk Hogan, whose charisma and physique turned him into the face of the company. The McMahon family had become royalty in the world of sports entertainment. The steroid scandal and the new generation. But every kingdom has its challenges. During the steroid scandal, some WWE stars were reportedly given steroids in the form of multivitamins. There are reports that McMahon's doctors gave wrestlers steroids disguised as vitamin supplements, which would make it harder to trace their usage. In the early 1990s, the WWF faced a crisis that threatened to bring it all down. The media and federal government scrutinized the company over allegations of steroid abuse. Vince himself was indicted and faced the possibility of prison time. The trial was a spectacle, with Vince portrayed as the puppet master of a steroid-fueled industry. In the end, he was acquitted, but the scandal left a stain on the McMahon name. To combat the negative publicity, Vince shifted the focus of the WWF. The era of hulking giants gave way to the new generation, featuring technically skilled wrestlers like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. While this period wasn't as commercially successful as the Hulkamania era, it kept the company afloat during turbulent times. The Monday Night Wars. From survival to domination. By the mid-1990s, the WWF faced a new challenge. Direct competition from World Championship Wrestling. With deep pockets and a primetime TV slot, WCW began to dominate the ratings. For a time, it looked like the McMahon empire might fall. Enter the Attitude Era. Vince, ever the innovator, turned the WWF into a more edgy, adult-oriented product. Characters like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and Mankind captivated audiences with their rebellious personas and dramatic storylines. Vince himself became a character, portraying the villainous Mr. McMahon in a feud with Austin that became one of the most iconic rivalries in wrestling history. The strategy paid off. The WWF not only survived the Monday Night Wars, but emerged victorious when it acquired WCW in 2001. Vince had once again proven his ability to adapt and conquer. The McMahons were on top of the world. Personal tragedies and public scrutiny. Success, however, came at a cost. The early 2000s were marked by personal tragedies that rocked the McMahon family and the wrestling community. The sudden death of Eddie Guerrero and the horrific Chris Benoit murder-suicide brought intense media scrutiny to the wrestling industry. The incident, which involved the murder of Benoit's wife and son before his own death, deeply affected McMahon and the WWE. Despite the media frenzy and public scrutiny surrounding the case, McMahon and WWE took significant steps to distance themselves from the tragedy. But it left a lasting scar on the company and the McMahon family. Questions about the physical and mental toll on wrestlers led to the implementation of the WWE's wellness policy, a move seen by some as genuine reform and by others as a PR stunt. Behind the scenes, the McMahon family began to show cracks. Vince's children, Shane and Stephanie, had been groomed to take over the family business, but tensions grew over the company's direction. Shane left the WWE in 2009, pursuing his own business ventures, while Stephanie and her husband, Triple H, took on more prominent roles. The Kiss My Ass Club. One of the most infamous storylines in WWE history involved the Kiss My Ass Club, a series of humiliating segments where Vince McMahon would force wrestlers to kiss his rear end as part of an on-screen punishment. While this was framed as entertainment, it highlighted McMahon's willingness to publicly degrade his employees to entertain fans. This storyline symbolized McMahon's power and his tendency to manipulate talent for his own amusement, further cementing his controversial legacy within the wrestling world. While the Kiss My Ass Club was a storyline on screen, behind the scenes some WWE superstars were reportedly forced to participate in humiliating rituals to prove their loyalty to Vince McMahon. The fall begins. Scandals and power struggles. The McMahon family's downfall didn't happen overnight. It was a slow, painful unraveling marked by scandals, power struggles, and changing times. Vince McMahon's downfall didn't start with the sexual harassment scandals. It actually began when he was betrayed by his own family. In 2001, during a period of severe personal and professional stress, McMahon's own daughter, Stephanie McMahon, allegedly plotted behind his back to take over WWE. After that, in 2022, Vince was accused of paying millions of dollars in hush money to women who alleged sexual misconduct. The scandal rocked the WWE, leading to an internal investigation, and Vince's abrupt retirement. For a man who had built his empire on controversy and larger-than-life personas, this was a humiliating exit. Stephanie McMahon took over as chairwoman and co-CEO alongside Nick Khan for a brief moment. It seemed like the McMahon legacy might survive without Vince at the helm, but Vince wasn't done. Using his controlling voting power, he forced his way back into the company in early 2023, setting the stage for a potential sale. The sale of WWE, the end of an era. In 2023, Vince orchestrated the sale of WWE to Endeavor, the parent company of UFC, forming TKO Holdings. The deal was a financial success, but it marked the end of the McMahons' control over the company. Vince remained involved in the business, but his influence was significantly diminished. For a family that had dominated the wrestling world for decades, this was the final bell. Legacy and lessons. The story of the McMahon family is one of triumph and tragedy. Vince McMahon revolutionized professional wrestling, turning it into a global entertainment powerhouse. But his relentless ambition and controversial decisions came at a cost. Scandals tarnished his reputation, and power struggles fractured his family. Today, the WWE continues to thrive under new management, but the McMahon name is no longer synonymous with the company. It's a cautionary tale of what happens when ambition and ego collide with changing times and public scrutiny. The McMahon family may have fallen, but their impact on the world of sports entertainment will never be forgotten. And just like in wrestling, you never know when someone might make a surprise return. Whether Vince or another McMahon tries to step back into the spotlight remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, The legacy of the McMahon family is as complex and dramatic as the storylines they brought to life in the ring.